thank you so much for joining me. Today, I'm talking all about teens, the internet, and social media. Could there be a bigger parenting nightmare or Pandora's box? I mean, oh my gosh, it's like where all the evil things come from, isn't it? Okay, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But if your teen is having questionable behavior around social media or the internet, or you're having problems with your teenager and you just want to control and hide, like take over their smartphone to protect them, and you're unsure of how to do it and it's just so frightening for you, this whole Pandora's box, then you're in the right place, because this is what we're going to talk about today. All right. My name is Allie Payne. I'm a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach, and I've been working with parents and teens to help them end the painful disconnection, because actually they both want to be more connected. I've been doing this for over 14 years. I was a very troubled teen, and now as a parent of teens, of two, now young adult men, I'm supposed to call them men, young adult men. This is something that I'm super passionate about, and I want to provide some detail to help you through this most challenging topic, I think, for us as parents today, and therefore probably one of the biggest sticking points with our teenagers today. I am actually camping this week, so I've run into my parents' house to use their Wi-Fi so that I can be here live with you. So I'm au naturel this week. All right, so let's jump in. I'm gonna say some things today that you might not like. I'm gonna say some things you might not wanna hear. I'm not for parents and I'm not for teens, okay? I'm for the relationship. And even though you likely didn't grow up with a smartphone in your hand. I know I didn't. I didn't even know what a fax machine was, I think, until I was in about grade 8. So I'm not camping right now. I'm at my parents' house. Using their Wi-Fi to do this. Okay, so because as parents, generally speaking, you and I did not grow up with smartphones, that is what makes this entire thing all the more frightening to us, okay? But here's the deal. Your fear is not your teenager's fault. Your fear is not their fault, okay? Your fear, however, it is very well-founded. Okay, it's well-founded, all right? Again, I'm not for teens, I'm not for parents. I want us to find a way through this where you have the opportunity to continue building a relationship with your teenager and not lose the relationship with your teen over this whole smartphone thing. Because sadly, the whole smartphone and technology, social media thing, it's not going away. It's not going to just disappear, okay? This connectivity is probably going to become more and more and more. So if we don't solve this from a parenting perspective now, then imagine the chasm that might become between you and your teenager later. And I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for your teen. All right? Okay. The internet, again, it's an unknown Pandora's box. And for the most part, it's because we didn't grow up with smartphones. So we don't, as parents, you don't understand the need to have the phone in the hand, holy cow, 24/7. And like, why is Wi-Fi, AKA oxygen? Like, I can't breathe. That's what I look like without Wi-Fi or social media or my phone. Yeah, well, but teenagers, you see, we don't get to have it both ways. See, teenagers are being raised in a digital era. That's also not their fault. So why are we making it their fault? Sorry, guys, I don't have my tripod, so I'm just holding my phone here. We, as parents, okay, if you weren't raised, if you're as old as me, then you weren't raised with technology. And so now you have a teenager who literally like can't live without Wi-Fi and doesn't know how to be in the world without a smartphone in their hand. That is not their fault. Our teenagers are growing up in a world that you and I were privy to creating, that you and I were part of invading. Did you invent the smartphone? No. But just because you didn't invent the smartphone and maybe you don't want one or you don't have one, that also doesn't make it's not your teenager's fault. Okay, so let's just remove some of the blamey, shamey stuff around smartphones and technology with our teenagers when they are growing up in this world, and it is very, very normal for them to be attached to them. Now I'm going to get into a little bit more of why. Okay, so sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here because girls got to stay on track. All right, so your fear of the smartphone with your teenager, it is well-founded. 100%, even though it's not your teenager's fault. It is well-founded. It is a world of predators. Like that's proven over and over. It's a world of predators. Geography is no longer at play. You see, with our teens, with our parents, like if they knew our friends and they knew kind of where we hung out and stuff, they knew basically, I mean, we were still hiding stuff and lying, but they knew like the majority of our world. Well, with a smartphone, geography is no longer a factor. Holy Hannah, that's a little scary. Right now, in this device in their hand, they have access to the whole world, but more frighteningly, the whole world has access to your teenager. Could that be a little more frightening right there? Okay. So there's geography. There's the fact that the smartphones open up the whole world to your teen and your teen to the whole world. So none of it is your teenager's fault, but now all of that is somehow their problem. Okay, so what do we do with that if it's their problem? Your fear is not their fault, but that's also their problem. So this is starting to feel a little bit heavy for teens. And this is where, here's another way where it goes off the rails. Now, you might have lied as a teen. I don't know. Or you might have gotten into trouble as a teen and you didn't even have a smartphone. Can I get a hell yeah if you got in trouble and you didn't even have a smartphone? I got in trouble. I didn't have a smartphone. I lied. I didn't have a smartphone. I hid stuff. I didn't have a smartphone. Okay? Smartphones don't make bad kids. I'm going to say that again. Smartphones don't make bad kids. Okay? Yes, it provides them access to things we don't want them to have, but the smartphone doesn't make them the bad kid. Okay? So, let me move to, I just got some data here. So here's the thing. 96% of adolescents lie to their parents, at least once. 96%. That's not a stat based on smartphones. Okay? 96. That study was done a few years ago. And I think the other 4% were lying that they didn't lie. Okay? So 96% of adolescents are lying to their teens, or lying to their parents. So I don't know why I keep saying teens. Okay? But here's the thing. 71% of teens hide online behavior from their parents. And that's a 2018 study. I hope you're putting those two numbers together. The frequency of lying in itself is less on smartphones than it is without a smartphone. Do you get where I'm going with this? Smartphones are not the center of all evil, okay? Smartphones don't lead to lying. Yep, there's better ways that they can hide stuff. Yeah, for sure. And again, your fears are founded. What I'm trying to do is speak a little bit of truth into it's called catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is taking something that is probably a concern, could be a concern, and like this big, or this big, and making it into like an elephant or a mountain or Mount Everest, okay? So I want you to check your fear. I want you to check your story. That, is your teenager bad because they have a smartphone? No. Is your teenager a liar because they have a smartphone? No. That's not true. So where is the balance then? Like, how are we supposed to find the balance between very real and founded fear as a parent and then allowing your teen to participate with their peer group digitally? Because this is also not their fault. Teenagers engage with their peer group digitally, online. So I'm not saying give your teenager a phone. I'm not saying they have to have a phone. Oh gosh, no, I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is they're growing up in a world where their peer groups interact for the most part digitally. Okay? So let's look first at the teenager's perspective. If you're a teen, I need some hands up in this one. Okay, so the teenager's point of view is this. Their phone is the digital record of their daily interactions, conversations that happen via Snapchat, Instagram, text, DMs, okay? Their phone is a digital daily record of all of their conversations with friends. It's a journal of sorts. A lot of teenagers use their phone as a journal via the Notes app or Google Docs. They was saved videos from Instagram or TikTok they thought was fun or funny. And it's a vehicle for expression in many ways, also via those videos that they might post on TikTok or Snapchat to friends or Instagram, etc. Okay? So as a teenager, just purely from that perspective as a teenager, not factoring in that the assumption that they must be lying, they must be into something negative, they're gonna end their life, not that, okay? It's normal teenager behavior to be on their phones because that is how teenagers are navigating relationships today. I don't think it works, but that's what they're doing, all right? So if you choose to participate in your relationship with your teenager in a way where you are going through their phone on a regular basis without them knowing, okay? That's an invasion of privacy for them. That's what that feels like. You are making it your business to read and see the daily digital record of every conversation they had, which in a lot of ways they could argue that's private. That's private. Like if there was no put it this way, if there was no smartphone, okay, how would you follow your teenager? I know you might want to. Would you follow your teenager around like you were attached to the hip and like with a notepad and pen and take notes of everything they said to their friends and then critique it? I'm thinking no. And wouldn't you think that would be a little bit weird to have like a recording or some record of every single thing they said to every single person? Do you think that some of that might be an invasion of privacy? And let me put it this way. Would you want your teenager to scroll through? Yeah, okay, I get it. I get that you pay for the phone, Crystal, and I'm going to talk about that. That's a great point. I'm going to talk about that, okay? Do you want your teenager to go through your record of every conversation you had in a day? And I don't care who pays for the phone. I'm talking about human dignity, human respect, and privacy. Do you want your teenager to scroll through every conversation you have via text or social media with all of your friends? Because what if you were talking about your teenager? Just like your teenager's probably talking about you. Okay, so here's the thing. For teenagers, I get that you have nothing to hide, and I get that, you guys, but I'm trying to tell you the teenager perspective. I'm getting to yours. I'm trying to tell you about the teenager perspective, okay? For teenagers, going through their phone is about privacy, and they have a lot of valid points about that, okay? For parents, it's about safety. Very real. Totally valid. So do you see the disconnect here? teenagers, it's about privacy. For parents, it's about safety. Now, from a parent perspective, here's the thing. Fear, your fear, which is not your teenager's fault, although it somehow is their problem, okay? Fear creates a need for control. And again, I'm not saying your fears of the internet are not unfounded. They're very well founded. Yes, stick with me. I'm going to get there. Okay? Fear drives control. Control will not equal safety. There is no amount of control that you can have that will guarantee your child is going to stay out of trouble. There isn't. And you know what? Let's go back to 96% of adolescents lie to their parents. That's just a general lie. 71% hide online behavior. They actually lie less with a phone. Okay, so here's the thing. I get that you pay for the phone. Great point, Crystal. I get that you pay for the phone. The problem with that is your teenager is feeling like you're invading their privacy. And I am not against that. But the argument of, well, I pay for it is an excessive and ineffective use of power. I'm sorry, it is not workable in the context of your relationship, constructive and healthy relationship with your teen. Okay? Here is what will work with your teenager. First of all, limitations. Okay? I get that you disagree, Crystal. I know this is a button pusher. I get it. Let me tell you where I do stand before you hang up, okay? Limitations are good. They are good. Yes. Because the teenage brain isn't fully formed on the intellectual side of the brain, okay? So they're lacking impulse control and emotional regulation. And so sure, look, it's on us as parents. If we're gonna give teenagers a smartphone, whether we pay for it or not, which is essentially a gateway to the wild, wild west of the internet, for which they have no experience at all to be on, then yeah, there's gonna be problems. There's going to be problems. So I am all about limitations. So when our kids first got phones, okay, we had parental controls on them. Now, at the time, you couldn't have a Google Play or an iTunes account, I think, until you were 16 or something. So I had parental controls where it couldn't download any app unless it sent a signal to my phone first for permission. 100%. And my kids couldn't download an app unless they showed it to me. They had to show me the reviews, and we had to go online and check it out together. Like, that's how strict I was. Super strict. Now, kids can lie about that, 100%. They can go on and they can lie about account, and they can, I used to want to go through them. Yeah. Okay, so this is the thing, you guys, is that it's about teaching, not controlling. Controlling won't get you far. Teaching will. Okay, so again, I'm about limitations. If you put parental controls on their phone, now can they still lie about their age and create an account, and they could go through your wallet when you're not looking and get your credit card? And sure they can. And they can also install Snapchat while they're walking to school and Snapchat all day and then delete it on their way back. So if going through their phone, if you think that that's going to stop them from doing things or protect them, then I'm going to ask you to think again. Because you know that you can do disappearing messages on Instagram? Yes, you can. You can do temporary messages on Instagram that only last for 30 seconds or 2 minutes and then they disappear. You can do that on TikTok. You can send private messages. You can delete your account and reload your account. You can delete your account on Snapchat and reload your account. These are not intended for, kids can do this kind of stuff. That's what they do. And they're going to do it to the degree they don't have privacy. And unfortunately, because teenagers do relationship digitally these days, that it won't get you as far. Although again, I'm all about limitations. Now, we also had limitations with our kids. Once they finally got Instagram accounts, they had to be private. Our kids, we had to follow them for the first while. And I know that was weird and it was uncomfortable for them. Too bad. And we had rules about what they could post. I mean, we had so many conversations, and this is what I want you to have with your teenagers. We had conversations with them about what they could post. They could not post anything that showed any other's face, like of a minor, like their cousins. They could not show faces of any minors. They couldn't post a video that had names in it. They couldn't post videos that showed the front of our house. It showed an address. We had strict rules about what they could post. Their profile picture could never be their actual face. Their handle could never be their real name or their birth date. Like again, we had, flip phone. Crystal, I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome because our fear is not their fault. So limitations are great. And if you want your kid to have an emergency phone or a phone they can text or call you from, but you don't want them having access to social media or the internet and you don't feel they're ready, get a flip phone. And I think that is awesome. Are they gonna love it? Maybe, maybe not, whatever. But it is a way of allowing them to text each other, to text their friends, to be in a form of digital participation with them without being ready. If you feel like they're not ready for a smartphone, then let's not give them a smartphone and then get mad at them for not doing it the way that we wanted, or live in fear every day and feel the need to go through their phone all the time. Like that, it's not, whose fear is it? So then let's use that fear as teaching. Let's use that fear. You can tell your teenager, I'm terrified. I'm terrified of you having a smartphone, and here's why. And we had conversations with our teenagers on the daily that only people they knew could follow them when their accounts were private and they were starting out, and we were teaching these lessons. When they were playing Minecraft, like on Discord, we had rules with them that, again, their handle could never be their name or birth date or address or city they lived in. When people were messaging them, the kinds of questions that predators ask. Whereabouts are you from? Compliments that are like a question of what school do you go to? How old are you? How many brothers or sisters do you have? All of that stuff. We had so many we had so many conversations with them about this. If it pulls out in the middle of school, they'd probably get bullied. Oh, no, he's a super cool kid. He's a super, super cool kid. Crystal's son, he's a cool kid. I know him. I love him. So it's, okay, I lost where I was going with that. Anyway, with Discord, sorry. So we talked to our kids about online predators, and that they would ask these kind of leading questions to start to find out where you live, where you hang out, what parks you go to, where you're meeting your friends, like what sports you like to play, what team are you on, what number of jersey do you wear, like all of these things. We had so many conversations about yes, I'll get to bullying, Crystal. That's a great point. That we had so many conversations with our kids, and they were young teens, about what that looked like. And now, at the time, Crystal, that's a great point that your son has a flip phone, because at the time that our kids were young teens, you could get a smartphone that didn't have data, like it didn't have access. It was just a phone and text phone. And so I love the smartphone idea. I am fully for limitations. And I'm also for, if your teenager is going to get a smartphone, whether it has data on it or not, maybe it's just Wi-Fi, that you have these conversations. So we would sit down with our kids. We have a no phones at the dinner table rule, but we would use it as an opportunity on the odd occasion and after dinner to go through what kind of things were they seeing in their feed, what were their friends posting, and then of course our kids like were super locked down what they could post, and because we had to follow them, all these rules that we had in the beginning. And what was appropriate, like what was funny online, what did they think had crossed the line? And then even if they weren't seeing it, we talked to them about it. Okay, so what if, young girls are posting like pics of, whatever, what do you think about that? And they would tell us like what was comfortable, what was not, or what kind of things, so this leads into bullying, Crystal. So what kind of things are appropriate to say to someone and what aren't? And I did a previous IGTV on this about why is your teenager so mean? Because empathy in kids is down 40%, mostly, but not entirely, because kids are doing relationships digitally. So when they're typing in something on Snapchat or they're typing a text, their brains are not receiving the impact of that message on the other person's face, all of that little finite nuance of facial muscles that tell their brain, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Ooh, it looks like I hurt their feelings. Looks like they're not getting any of that feedback when they're doing relationships digitally. So I totally agree that, and Crystal, I'll get to that too. I totally agree that, talking to your kids about cyberbullying is another reason why we would sit and talk to them about what kind of things were appropriate to say to people and what weren't. And if you were in a chat group and someone said something, what would you do about that? And what would someone of the character of who you want to be, what would they do about that? And those are the kinds of things. So we talk to them about online bullying and how online bullying doesn't necessarily mean words, but sometimes it can be like a little sassy video snap that for some people is funny, but darn well it's directed at somebody else. We had all those conversations too, all of them. This is the only way that we are going to send our kids out into the wild, wild west of the internet, which isn't going away. Own our own fear. Not make it our teens' fault or their problem, but teach them. And so, example, I have to follow you on your accounts and then a secret account. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Crystal, so let's talk about that, because that's great, because let's go back to 71% of teenagers hide some online behavior from their, I want to go back to limitations for a second. Apps like Our Pact is a great one, I think, because it limits time on certain apps, but it's not invasive of privacy, which I'm not a fan. Bark Technologies is another good one, because it can limit time and build in some safety without being super invasive on privacy. Life 360 or Parenting 360 is another one. It can be wildly invasive on the whole privacy side, depending on how it's used. So if you access Life 360 or Parenting 360, there's ways that you can set it up with your child to turn things on and off, and you negotiate agreements about that. Like if you use Life 360 and you want their location tracker, which we have an agreement in our family, that I have to know the code for their phone, and my fingerprint had to work on their phone. Because if I ever felt I had reason or concern to check their phone, then I was going to. And they knew that from the get-go. But because we sat down, and this was like a good 2 years, gosh, I'm sure, where we were talking as they were growing through kind of 13, 14, 15, social media, we had so many conversations, and we would show them things on our phones that weren't like wildly age inappropriate, but we thought were inappropriate to show them as examples. Okay, this wasn't cool. So here's why we think this wasn't cool. What do you think of this? Like that kind of stuff. Okay. So what if they don't follow the rules? Okay, so let's go back to transparency, okay? Because kids are gonna lie, you're right, creating a secret account, yep, that's 100% something that could happen as well. Okay, so I believe in transparency. Without transparency, you do not have trust. Okay, so just please remember your teenager, for the most part, I know they might be hiding stuff. can come from a perspective of this is my private life. This is my life. I don't want you reading through all of that stuff, everything I say to my friends. I need to have some privacy, which actually having a basic level of personal privacy is critical for mental health. I did some research on it. Without it, it leads to a feeling of powerlessness, hopelessness, and depression, anxiety, and over time, rage. That's what can happen when people don't feel like they have any privacy, okay? So if they break the rules, or even if you want to negotiate this agreement with them, I'm all about that. Say, look, I'm going to check through your phone with you every Sunday. Every Sunday after dinner, we're going to sit down and we're going to go through your phone. If you give them the phone, okay, you could have this agreement right off the hop. Right off the hop. We're going to go through your phone once a week. We're going to look at some of the things that you've saved, that you've posted, that you liked, and we're going to just talk about these things. And is their Snapchat history going to be there? No, because those snaps disappear anyway, unless they're snaps that they saved, right? So yes, I believe 100%, because if you have transparency, you can maintain trust. It's when you're going through this without them knowing, that doesn't work. So if they break the rules, or let's say I have a significant concern that my son is like dealing drugs, or, pimping girls, or like whatever it is, then no notice. I would still do it with my son there. And I would say, look, this is the data points that I have that are causing me pretty great concern. I would like your phone, please. We're going to go through it right now. So no notice inspections? Heck yeah. But transparently, here's why. Here's my data points. This is what I'm feeling. We're going to go through your phone, and then you need to ask, help me to understand. Help me to understand, because you don't always know the perspective. Let's face it, how much perspective is available in text? Very little, because you're missing the 97% of communication. So say to them, help me to understand, so you get their side of things as well, okay? So that's the whole transparency. Make agreements that you're going to check through their phone. Make agreements you're going to check through their rooms, if you have reason to, but do it with them there so that they can help you to understand based on data that you are concerned about. Okay, if they break the rules, let's go back to limitations. If you break the rules, then we're going to go through your phone, more often. Or then we're going to remove Instagram, or you're going to delete your account. Yeah, I know you have 1,000 followers or whatever. You're going to delete your account, or hire parental controls, or they lose access to the phone. If you need to take your teenager's phone and you have reason to, because like Crystal, like you said, that they've lied, then okay, that was a boundary we had that you've crossed. So your phone is now mine for a week or whatever. But here's the thing, you have to make it very clear how they earn it back. So maybe you give their phone to them every day after school for an hour or something, and slowly they earn your trust back. But you've got to make that clear, because if a consequence doesn't have an end, it's actually lost its power, it's lost the effectiveness. And if how they earn back the privilege isn't clear, it'll backfire, because the more you try and control, the more likely, and this is just data, you guys, the more you try and control, the more likely they are to hide behavior, period. Okay, I'm not saying be free for all. Like I said, I'm all about limitations. If they break the rules, I caught my son one time on YouTube at like 12:30 at night. I had said goodnight to him, and I realized I left my phone in his room. And so I snuck back in there at 12:30 to get my phone, and he was like, I don't know, he was like 13. And he was on his YouTube at 12:30 in the morning. I was like, nope, that's it, you're done. So we were letting them keep their phones in their rooms, which I'm not necessarily a fan of, honestly, and that's totally up to you. I love agreements in families where it's like, nope, all smartphones are on the kitchen table by 10 o'clock, and they are charging in our rooms or whatever. That's great. my son, after that, I put a parental control on the number of hours that he could watch something, because he was using his phone as an alarm clock. And I've talked to him about it multiple times, and I said, this is what I'm doing. That particular son of mine, he struggles with self-regulation. And he has said to me, he's like, yeah, no, because if you didn't do that, I wouldn't get off it. Whereas my other son is super hyper self-regulated. Okay. So, yeah, you can't control it. And this is the problem. Thinking you can control this issue is not going to make it better, like in any way, shape, or form. But taking the phone, if they, and like I know a lot of teenagers like their music to go to sleep, or they have relaxation or calming apps. That's why I like things like Bark or Hour Pact as parental control apps, because you can give them access to that app at when they are going to sleep, and that still have shut the rest of the phone off. Okay. So there are ways to do that. If they like reading in bed at night, and then instead of having an iPad, you could have like a Kindle or a Kobo or something. So where they don't have some of the access to the internet. You can also, now on home internet systems, you can like cut off Wi-Fi access at certain times of night. Do that too. I'm all about limitations and consequences. But it only works with transparency. It only works if you are willing to be transparent with your teenager about this and stay in conversation, so it becomes teaching moments, and they're not going to get it right. Can I just say right now, they're not going to get it perfect ever. They're going to get it wrong. So just be prepared. They're going to get it wrong. Okay? They're going to do it wrong. Do what consequence feels right for you. Make it clear how they're going to earn that trust back, and that might take them a long time. Or maybe your teenager only gets their phone while they're at school, and then they have to give it back when they get home. I don't know. Whatever feels right for you. Okay? I'm just saying, our fear, although it is very well founded, it is not our teenagers' problem. It is our responsibility and our job to try and unfortunately get with the times that we weren't raised in, to help our teenagers participate in relationships that happen so much on digital platforms these days, and teach them how to be safe and effective, and of the values and moral standing that you believe or you would like for them, not just by giving them a smartphone and then pretending that controlling and monitoring it, which, by the way, controlling and monitoring never work. They don't work for relationship building. In fact, they tank relationships. Okay? So I'm for you. I believe you. I get it. And we talk about predators. We talk about how, do you know when a teen girl creates if a teen girl creates a public Instagram account with her face showing, she is likely to get requests for video chats within the first 25 seconds of creating the account. That's what people who actually catch online predators, that's what they do. They fake accounts of young girls and spend all night chatting with these people while police track down the IP address and go and arrest them. So it's very real. I am not for a second saying your fear is not founded. What I'm asking you to do is to check, how is your fear of internet, social media, the whole thing, and smartphones with your teen, how is that fear playing out? Because if it's playing out in a way where it's your teen's fault, or just because they have a smartphone, now all of a sudden they're hiding things, that's an assumption. That's not true. Own your fear. Stay in conversation, hard conversations with your teenager. And don't stop those conversations, so that you build trust and you can deal with what comes. Because your teenager, again, I'll read it again, 96% of adolescents lie to their parents, 71% hide online behavior. So there's actually less lying with online behavior than there was just lying as a whole. Okay? If you have found this helpful, please share this with other parents. I know this was rather button pushing and you may not have liked what I had to say, and I am okay with that too. Difference of opinions are welcome. I'm going to post this on my Instagram feed. If you are looking for other assistance, please go to the link in my bio and hit the community button. That is my free parenting community where we're having conversations like this all the time. If you, you can post anonymously in that group as well. If you are looking for more help, my live 5-day challenge is coming up at the end of June. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. If you're not on my email list yet, you're going to want to join my tribe, and you can do that also via the link in my bio so you don't miss out on when the live 5-day challenge is coming. And if there's something more in depth that you'd like to talk about, you can absolutely book a session with me. You can go to my website, alipayne.com, and hit work with me, and you can book a session with me, and I would be happy to help you. Thank you so much for being with me today. I so appreciate your time. I know this is a sticky issue, and it can be a really tough one to navigate as a parent, let alone as a teenager. So thanks, everybody. Be well. I will see you next week.